AI adoption in enterprises is skyrocketing, with 72% of businesses implementing AI in the past year, up from 48% over the previous 5 to 7 years. Companies are using AI to automate tasks, slash costs, and make faster, smarter decisions. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Analytics Inside podcast, where we talk about the ever evolving tech space. And I'm your host, Priya Dialani. The boardroom question for every C suite executive has shifted from should we invest in AI to we have AI, what's or where's our return? The harsh reality, despite massive investments, most organizations remain trapped in AI pilot purgatory, running dozens of experiments with little to show for measurable business impact. This era AI experimentation is ending and executives are demanding concrete answers about value creation. So, how are we heading ahead and what's the future like? Let's welcome Rahul Madke, CEO and co founder of ScatterPie Analytics. Hi, Rahul, how are you doing?
Hi, thank you for inviting me here. I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing good too. Thank you so much, Rahul. It's a pleasure to have you on our podcast today. And I think the kind of a dilemma every C-suite executive of almost every organization who is trying to implement AI for measurable impact is trying to analyze, are they really and actually gaining that impact they thought or they kind of planned when they wanted to implement AI. But before we, of course, we are going to get answers from you, Rahul. And before we get deeper into this conversation, let's set the foundation and know more about Scatterpie Analytics. So, if you could help us understand more about the company, its specialization, it would be great.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. And the point that you mentioned about AI, we'll touch upon them quickly. So I'll give you a quick background about ScatterPie Analytics. So we are a data analytics firm. For us, input is data. We take data sources from multiple systems and then we process it, clean it. Then the typical ETL happens to bring business transformations on it. And then ultimately there is the report, dashboard, and now AI is sitting on top of it. So we take care of this entire journey for our customers. So we interact with them, understand what they want to get out of this business data, and then we follow the entire cycle to make sure they're getting all the business insights out of whatever data they have captured. Hence, I said we are an end-to-end data analytics company, which is focusing on data engineering, business intelligence, and now AI and ML to bring more insights on top of the data. And that's what we do on day-to-day basis. So we work with more than 20 different industries. We have worked with more than 150 clients. Most of them are enterprise customers who are sitting on huge data and they want to, as you said, make sense out of the data that they're capturing and want to understand how they can make better decisions based on technology and the data that is captured. So that's what we do at ScatterPie Analytics.
Right. Thank you for that overview, Rahul. And it's always fascinating to hear how a particular company is driving innovation in the space and the unique value it brings to the industry. And of course, when we're talking about data, it's not just enough to have data. It's very important how you make sense of that data and eventually, create like a long-term impact. Specifically, I think for enterprises who sit on, huge data sets, like you mentioned. We would also like to dive deeper into your role, Rahul. I mean, you are a passionate believer in industry specific solutions and faster time to value for enterprise clients. So, how has the journey been till date? What exactly is your role and contribution towards the company? We would like to know more about it.
So I'm one of the co-founders and CEO of Scatterpie Analytics. I take care of the general management, our growth strategy, overseas expansions. I personally take care of the Middle East expansion and all the new initiatives that are in AI and other technologies which are evolving. I am personally interested in that to understand how the market is changing, how we can change ourselves, how we can change our services to get a market better. My journey with data and analytics started in 2010, 2011 when I was working for one of the biggest bank in the US market. And that time it was more of a Hadoop big data ecosystem and we wanted to churn more data with massively parallel processing Then I shifted my journey to more of a statistical analysis with R, Python, get trends out of the data, understand better insights beyond what descriptive analytics is. Then I got exposure on the visualization tools like Tableau, Power BI. I've run some of the COAs for some of the bigger pharmaceutical companies to set up the visualization or business intelligence BI to make sure they're getting right insights. And then in 2015, I started this company, ScatterPie, where we started our journey of interacting with the customers and helping them get the insights out of whatever data they have captured. Plus, we do a lot of consulting on what should be their path on the business intelligence and AI for the next 3 years, 5 years. What are things a company should do in specific domain? How we can help them in stitching that story, bringing the right insights on the table, and what ROI and outcome they can get out of this insight journey. So that's what we are doing for last 10 years now.
That's really insightful and interesting to understand your role and Rahul, your journey. Thank you for sharing that. It's inspiring to see your journey overall and, of course, your role, how it goes beyond just day-to-day responsibilities, but it's contributing to the company's larger vision. Now, building on that, let's get into our core discussion, Rahul. The rapid expansion of the enterprise artificial intelligence market highlights its growing significance in business operations. Now, the market was valued at $20.42 billion in 2024, and it is expected to reach around, $29 billion by the end of 2025. I think in just like a couple of months. So, this surge reflects the increasing adoption of AI-driven solutions to enhance efficiency, improve decision making, and I think most importantly is to reduce cost. But as AI continues to transform, traditional business models, and as enterprises are also embracing these advancements to unlock a new opportunities, and they're trying to maintain a digital edge, increasingly digital landscape. So we often hear that AI is described as a game changer. But in your view, how much of that is still a buzzword and how much is actual business value being realized?
That's a good question. We internally had a discussion on this last year just to understand, is it really a buzzword? Is it people are really giving thoughts about implementing anything in the production environment or making it live use cases? So it's a mixed emotion. If you ask me, you'll see a lot of discussions happening around it, just a buzzword, and then people are just exploring what is AI, how it can be helpful. But that was probably last year's story when it was more of a discussion and the boardroom saying we should do something in the AI space. This year, we are seeing the implementations of it. It might not be the entire enterprise-wide implementation of AI for all the functions, but now companies have started exploring it for at least doing the POCs or some pilot projects to, of course, reduce the cost. Whatever is the manual work which you can automate through AI or agentic AI bots, people are preferring to do that because then you don't need literally L1 resources to do that manual efforts. But then there will be always a human in the loop to make sure the processes are streamlined. Beyond automation of the processes with the LLM models, now you'll see a lot of generative AI coming into picture. And as we talk to mainly CIOs, CXOs, and decision makers, for them getting data instantly whenever they want specific KPIs or information is very important. So if you look at the typical journey of reporting and business intelligence, traditionally, it was more of a daily, weekly, monthly process where someone was telling, I want to run this report daily and show it to me so I can make decision next day based on what has happened in the previous business day. Then you must have seen monthly meetings and quarterly meetings and annual reports, which are more of a giving insights on what has happened. And then based on that, you can take the decision. Now that it changed. Now people want to see something on the fly. So you'll see a lot of ad hoc reports coming in or live dashboards coming in, which will show actual information happening as of now, maybe 1 hour, 1 minute delay. So they can make live decision, operational decisions to correct things. It is still pre-built. We call it as a canned report, pre-designed report, where I'll have to tell what KPIs I want to see, and then I'll be monitoring only those KPIs which are present on the dashboard. With the Gen AI or LLM models, now people don't want to really see a pre-designed dashboards, and I'm talking about CFOs and CXOs who don't want to really go back to again developer and say, hey, I want one more KPI. Can you add it in the dashboard and publish it? And we would like to see it. Or they don't want to really get into the system to, drag and drop and create charts and show something which is very technical. Now we have gone beyond that where they want to just ask questions. And they're like, okay, give me a window where I can literally ask question. It should go fire query, get the output, show me the insights based on whatever data I have. Or even we have created some of the CFO cockpits where CFO will just say something, saying, show me the data for this particular product in this region for the last year. And now it is the AI bot which will go fire query, get the insight, show it, and then we'll give a recommendation also on what follow-up questions you need to ask. So with this kind of feasibility or flexibility, now C-suite users or CXOs don't want to really rely on the tech team to understand what is happening in my data. They just want to ask questions, and it has become a very interactive and easy way of interacting with your data and getting insights out of it, and people are using it. So if you're asking me how it is changing, now it is going more on the business side where people are just interacting with your AI ecosystem, asking questions and getting the answers out of it, and it is making their life comparatively easy. And this is the biggest change that we have seen recently. So if I talk about where this AI is getting implemented in enterprises, as far as our understanding and exposure with the enterprises, they do not jump directly into the solution. They'll evaluate the overall solution, do POCs, get into a zone where they are very comfortable with the overall approach and they see ROI on top of it. So this is where the POC phase happens. And once the POC is successfully implemented, then people move these things into production where they want to run it on a smaller scale, see how the outcomes are happening, build the trust on the AI model and processes, and then start replicating it. So as a service provider company, now we have seen people have moved out of the POC zone. Now they are ready to do the experiments in their actual production environment and streamline the processes, reduce the cost, or make the overall decision making effective so they can have better returns on top of whatever investment they're doing into AI. So it's no more buzzword now. It was a buzzword last year. People were very curious about how things are moving. Now it has gone to actual implementation where people are seeing what is happening and how AI is bringing more value to their ecosystem. And we are seeing more projects coming on the way because there is a good implementation happening on AI.
Definitely, that's a great perspective, Rahul, and it really helps separate the hype from the tangible impact. And it's really fascinating to understand how enterprises are, moving beyond the buzzword phase and truly embedding AI into their core strategies. I think this shift where we are actually, moving from experimentation to an actual measurable ROI is it's what truly redefining this a new era. Now, building on that, let's move further. Of course, AI is automating, complex business operations, and it's reducing inefficiencies, and there are a lot of more measurable impacts, and I would say like increased productivity as well. Now, for example, AI is transforming marketing by enabling hyper personalization, predictive analytics, and automation. And all of this is helping businesses engage customers more effectively while optimizing the marketing spend as well. So in your earlier response, you did mention about, certain industries that are actually truly embracing AI. So are there any particular industries that have actually moved beyond experimentation and are truly operationalizing AI at scale in real world scenarios?
Yeah, as I said, we work with 20 plus different industries, and every industry has their own pace of adopting technology. Few are very proactive in adopting the new things, and then they want to experiment and see how their processes can be optimized. And some industries will follow the leaders when they implement things. So we have seen this difference. If you look at the typical industries that have really gone beyond POC stage and implemented real life problem statement, you'll see BFSI is one industry which is very proactive in experimenting things. And now, if you have observed, there are a lot of banks which uses bots. Especially if you look at the typical manual process of, let's say, call center, you'll see a lot of inbound bots giving you call. A lot of outbound calls are happening to bots because then it's a typical script that you need to follow. So anywhere there is a SOP which can be documented and processed, industries are using bots to do it. And especially I have seen that into BFSI because BFSI will be having right data collected and they'll be able to do process automations on it. In insurance, you'll see there'll be collections happening, premium information will be sent to end users through bots, and then AI will be used to understand who will renew, will not renew. There'll be scoring given to users. Even in the loan department, you will see some of the scores given to the customers based on who will pay automatically versus whom you'll have to call and get the collection done. So that AI is part of the overall process. It was there last year also. It was not visible to end users because it was more of an internal process optimization and giving more insights on the internal data. Now, if you look at the user-facing thing, which you mentioned about your marketing departments, and you will see a lot of e-commerce platform using the behavioral analytics and user behaviors to analyze the patterns and give recommendation, personalized advertisements. Now, you'll see that in almost all the applications which are tech-driven. It can be banking, it can be insurance, it can be any B2C platform. You'll see a lot of AI bots coming in and understanding your patterns. But if you go to typically, let's say, traditional businesses which are heavy on tech plus their infrastructure like manufacturing, supply chain, and other businesses, you'll see a lot of AI getting involved there also. Because we work with bigger manufacturing companies, they have all the sensors deployed, and these sensors are continuously dumping the data. And for any AI bot to work properly or to predict things properly, you need huge data. And with the sensors, we literally have data sent every second and every minute. So we get huge amount of data to put AI bots on it. And that's where your predictive analytics start happening. So we have done some of the predictive maintenance activities for supply chain. We have a lot of sensors giving data about the temperature and other parameters. So we have done some predictive maintenance activities around vessels which are carrying crude oil or which are carrying all the critical metals. So we just want to make sure there is no accident happening, and you'll see analytics and AI on top of it just to give you predictive maintenance or forecasting or when something will reach at point A, point B, they can optimize things properly. So these are the industries that are opting much faster than other industries. But then if you look at the functions, which you said marketing, you'll see the creative field has taken a lot of AI in it. So you'll see a lot of content getting generated from ChatGPT or from other platforms. So you'll see bigger impact there. Earlier it was you need to understand the entire domain, then you understand the context and you write something, it will be reviewed. Now it is AI is doing most of the activity, but there is a human in the loop, will monitor this thing, change it to human version, and then use it. So a lot of functions in an industry are getting automated because of the AI. You look at the HR processes now, you'll see interviews are happening through AI bots. CVs are getting scanned through AI bots. You'll see platform like Naukri Monster have applied AI where you put a requirement and they'll go and search all the profiles and will give scoring on the profile that talks about which is the suitable profile for your requirement. So this AI is becoming very handy to reduce all the manual efforts and make your overall process efficient. So in terms of industries also, we see a lot of industries opting for it and then getting better results, and ROI has already shown. And if you look at the different departments or functions also, you will see multiple departments and functions are using AI to automate most of the processes. We don't have to really get into the manual efforts are doing the similar things again and again, and you can automate most of these things. If you see a lot of documentation that was happening earlier, which was getting digitalized by either human being or by some mechanism. Now AI is doing it. You just scan the document, it will convert everything into your required format and put it into the system. So companies like us, where we are dependent on a lot of data sources, if the data source is not an application or a systematic data, it was a challenge earlier. Now with the AI ecosystem, we just scan the documents, we define the formats, and all these documents will be scanned and the data will be digitalized for us to analyze. And as I said, for us, input is data, output is data. If I have clean data and accurate data, I can give better insights on top of the data. It's helping us to even give right insights to business users based on how their data is captured.
Definitely. Thank you for sharing that, Rahul. And of course, you shared certain real world examples of certain industries which actually define that, AI is kind of actually truly getting embedded into the core operations and, of course, highlighting the more tangible impact of this cutting edge technology. Now,
Sorry, I'm interrupting, but on this note, I don't know if you have seen the videos of dark warehouses. There's a concept of dark warehouse where there is literally zero human being involved. Entire warehouse is managed by all the bots with the AI, with all the sensors, and then the warehouse is managed by the bots without any lights there. So literally, we do not need a human intervention, and that kind of use case is already implemented in the industry. So we are looking at most of these automations through AI bot. It is right now exploration phase. People are exploring what is possible with it, but then I think in next year or two, we'll be able to see more of these production use cases to see how AI is helping companies to optimize their processes.
right, yeah, I think thank you again for sharing that. I hope our listeners look up to these examples and truly understand the tangible impact that AI is trying to give. And, of course, so my next question is something which will help us understand that how organizations are achieving this level of scale. I was going through certain studies which, revealed that 80% of AI projects fail to scale, beyond pilot stages. And even more concerning is that only 8% of AI models successfully make it to the production environments. Now, this represents a massive inefficiency in corporate AI spending, with billions invested in initiatives that never deliver measurable business outcomes. Now, I think the problem isn't technological capability. I think it's strategic implementation. Organizations are investing in AI due to, the competitive pressure or fear of missing out, rather than following a data-driven approach to automation and intelligence. So, I mean, next question is very simple, is that many enterprises are struggling to move from pilot projects to productions. So, what are the biggest roadblocks you see?
Okay, that's a good question. We have seen something similar. So typically, if someone is assuming the AI will come and solve all my problems and make my bottom line better or help me get bigger numbers, it's not going to happen. And let's accept that reality. It is just a tool which will enable you to do some of the things. And you asked how a company should do it typically is it has its own life cycle. The first thing is you'll have to identify what is the business objective, why you want to put AI to do something. It can be as small as automating someone's task. It can be as big as bring the intelligence in my ecosystem so I can take informed decision based on that intelligence. But if your business objective is clear, then you can build technology around it, and it can be any model of AI. If you look at now AI, every day you're seeing a new model, new use cases, everything is new in the ecosystem, people are exploring it, and they just want to make sure they want to use all these new extensions, technologies, algorithms to achieve whatever they want to achieve. The objective is good. The moment they start implementing these things, a typical common problem that we have seen in any enterprise is your data readiness. If you do not have right data, no AI model will give you the accurate answers. And the moment that reality hits where we do not have data in the required format, it is not clean, it is not integrated, then that's where the problem starts coming in. And you cannot just feed Excel files to AI bot and say, okay, well, I have given you sample data, now give me the accurate result. It's not going to work because you'll have to train your model on your actual data to get your actual results. Otherwise, either it will do hallucination or it will give you very generic answers which will not be of use, and then you lose interest in that particular project even after you do a good investment. So a typical life cycle needs your business objective, it needs your data readiness. If your data is ready, it is sufficient and in the required format without any data quality issues, then only your AI bot will sit on top of it, or any, forget about AI. When you're creating a dashboard, it is garbage in, garbage out. If your data is not in the required format, you'll not get the right insights on it. So second important thing that you need to do is you need to bring the data readiness in the ecosystem, and then only you'll be able to see the right answer. Third is selecting right model, because there are a lot of models in the market and industry and there is invention happening. So you need to understand what you're looking at, which is the right model for you. And then you start using that model to train your data and you get the insights on it. Now, this is what we have seen in the POCs. If you look at the POC also, or if someone wants to experiment it, they'll have business objective. It can be as small as automating someone's task. They'll give the sample data and they'll have some models to get the output out of it. Now, from POC to production, if we are talking about that journey, then it needs a strategic level change at the organizational level. You need to have a proper governance in the ecosystem. You need to have a lot of ethics around how you're using this data and AI and how you're going to get output out of it. And then you'll have to have integration with all the systems. It cannot be like I have created a bot, someone used it for a month, and then after that no one is using that bot, then there is no adaptability of your new technology in the ecosystem. It's not going to serve the purpose. Plus, you need to have some change management, because with this AI and ecosystem, it's going to change you. The SOPs are working right now. You'll have to align your SOP, change some of the processes to align it to the effective use of the AI, and then that's where you'll have a successful model coming out of it and will be given to the end users. If I typically look at enterprise customers who are planning to have everything on-prem, they do not want to share the data on cloud. There is always a question on what will happen if my data is going on a cloud, or if the model is hosted somewhere on the cloud, how the security will come into picture. They'll take their own time to validate how this new ecosystem is going to work, because for them data security is the most critical part, and they don't want to just jump on any solution without analyzing this risk. So most of the enterprises will analyze these risks, understand where the data is, how it is interacting with the cloud platform, where these AI models are hosted. For some of the countries like Oman or UAE, they want to have those servers in their country. They don't want to send the data outside. So there will be a lot of restrictions coming from the security team to give a go ahead on any solution. And after all those security checks, then it will get into a production environment. And once we have a production environment ready where we are deploying these solutions, then there will be adoption happening in the organization. And even there, they have challenges. Typically, your data should be continuously clean. It cannot be just clean for your training model, and after that, you're getting some garbage data. You'll have to make sure all the data sources are capturing the right information. You have data quality management in process, and then you're getting the clean data for your analysis. And then you'll have governance and trust on that data. Because typical challenges, my AI will say you're having, let's say, 34% growth this year. Now I need to have a trust on that model. I need a supporting content document data to support these numbers. And till people build that trust, they'll not blindly follow it. So we have seen people running the traditional ecosystem plus AI models in parallel just to validate these numbers for some time to get a trust on this new model. And once they build a trust, then they start following the AI path rather than having the traditional MIS or analytics report. Now, this is till we build the solution. Now, the next challenge is you need to have talent and culture to go with the AI, because you need people who understand what kind of question they should ask and then what answers they should expect. Because if you have seen typical topics around ChatGPT, people say it is not about the technology, it is about what question you ask to ChatGPT, what query you put there, and based on that, you'll get the output. So we need to have good training on how we should use these AI bots, how we should get the insights on it, and that will be more of a grooming of our existing talent to use AI. And then there will be a cultural change happening because we are moving from a traditional ecosystem to AI bots. So there will be some changes happening in the organization. If we follow the checklist, and if we align our thought process around how we should go with the AI adoption, then I think it will be easy for companies to move into production rather than doing an experiment and trying to move that experiment into production, because at some point it will get stuck because your ecosystem will not support it. So it can run as a pilot project, but it cannot run as a enterprise level project because your ecosystem should support your change in the organization. And if you ask me, typical enterprises or even small medium companies are at this phase where they want to move to AI to optimize their efforts and cost, but then they're trying to build an ecosystem around it to make sure the ecosystem is supporting this new change of AI, and then it becomes a generic technology to adopt in the organization. And that's where we are right now for most of the companies and most of the projects.
Right, that definitely makes a lot of sense, Rahul. And like I mentioned, I think it's not just about the technology itself, but the translation of a successful pilot into a more scalable and business aligned solution. And I think the transition demands not just robust infrastructure and data readiness, but you also need strong management, cross-functional collaboration, and a leadership buy-in also to sustain that momentum. And it's fascinating to see how those who crack this transition are often the ones able to operationalize AI or automation at scale, and they are actually the ones turning experiments into real enterprise value. Moving ahead, I think my next question is also somewhat related to what we discussed now, Rahul. And I think, CTOs have also pointed out that there is a leadership gap in AI understanding. I was reading this study which showed that only 55% believe that their executive teams have the fluency needed to fully grasp the risks and opportunities associated with AI adoption. And among employees, that figure falls to 46%, which signals that a wider AI trust gap, which could actually hinder successful AI implementation and, of course, long term success. So, what are certain misconceptions you feel that business leaders still have about AI that can actually slow down the adoption or help in realizing more impact value?
That's a good question. You talked about employees also. So I'll first focus on employees, then I'll go to the leadership. So with employees, I think AI has become bigger buzzword because they're worried about AI replacing some of the jobs, and there is a good debate discussion happening on will AI really replace some of these jobs. And if you're talking about companies where employees are implementing AI, they'll be always skeptical about this particular one parameter. If you ask me personally, if you do not upgrade, of course, it's not AI, something else will replace your job. But then those who are using AI to implement things, their life has become better. They're more efficient, and then without doing a lot of manual effort, they're able to implement things quickly. So it is helping. The percentage that you mentioned, which was less than 50% from employee side, it is because it's a new thing. They're trying to understand, adopt it. It is more of an experiment. So let's give some more time, and then people will realize its value, how AI and overall automation is helping them solve their manual task and problem, and then hopefully there'll be a bigger adoption percentage coming from the employee side. Now, the decisions of which initiative to take, when to start it, what budgets to allocate, at what scale we want to implement AI is happening generally into the boardroom, or it is happening between the CEO, CIO, and CTO. Now, if you look at these CXOs who are making the decisions, for them it will be more of a ROI discussion, because if you are doing some experiment, everyone would like to show what best ROI we got out of it to have follow-up projects on the same technology or similar initiatives. So you'll see most of these initiatives that are coming from CXOs or getting approved from CXOs, most of these initiatives are having visibility at CXO level, because CXO really wants to see, if I'm issuing you some budget, I want to understand how it is coming out, because first they want to have this brag-worthy thing saying we are using AI to either optimize our processes or to make our services or products better. Second is, it is more of an experiment where there's a lot of pressure from the industry saying, oh, we are already using AI, and if you are not using AI, then there will be a fear of missing out, as you said. So there is good visibility of AI projects now to entire this CXO team or even board members, and hence you will see initiatives that are getting implemented are very high ROI driven implementations happening. Either people want to really automate the manual processes and save their overall cost, or they want to make the services better or decision making better. Where we come as a ScatterPie, we always work with the decision makers, because for us everything is driven by data. So we always talk to CEOs, CTOs, CXOs to understand what they want out of the data. So if you look at our projects which are sitting on top of their business data and then making more insights and decision based on the available data, so these are some of the projects where customers or the CXOs have a lot of visibility. So they really want to have a command center with all the dashboard that we have deployed. Along with that, they want to have an AI bot on top of it. It can be a simple LLM, or it can be a chatbot, ask questions and get the insights, because they want to feel that AI adaptability in the organization, and that's where it starts getting into the projects. Where the gap is into the expectation, because people have seen a lot of things in social media and LinkedIn, and they want to understand, okay, if I can automate my task, then it should reduce my 30% cost and all. There is always a number attached to it in the expectation when it comes to AI implementation. They really want to say, okay, remove this 10 members team and automate their task. So this will be a 10%, 15% bottom line, which is kind of a gap, because AI is not something a plug and play solution. You can't just bring it into the ecosystem and put it in, you'll get ROI out of it. It needs some time. First, it needs adoption, then it needs training in the ecosystem. You need to build trust around it, and then it will start showing insights. So people need to have some trust, 6 months timeline to get the output, and that's where we see little gap there, because then people who have given the go ahead on the project would like to see quick implementations and see the outcome of this AI. Whereas if you look at the CTO's role, he understands what are the challenges in the data and in the ecosystem and how much time it's going to take to implement. So we have seen this timeline crunch and expectation mismatch in the CXO discussion most of the time. So we as a consultant really go and say, this is your roadmap for 12 months. So do not expect tomorrow we'll just bring a bot and put it on your data and you'll start getting answers on top of it. It's a roadmap of 6 months where we'll do phase one, phase two, phase three. This is what you'll get out of it. And then after that, this is how you're going to get the benefit out of your investment. And we become that bridge as a service provider company, saying whatever your expectations are, will meet them. It'll come in the phases, because what you're seeing is the outcome of it. Before that, we need to do 1, 2, 3, 4 as a prerequisite. Once we have the prerequisite done, then we'll put a bot on top of it, and then we'll do automations for you. You want to have AI calling bot, we'll implement that AI calling bot, and then we'll start showing you the dashboards and reports and insights on how it is working. And when people start seeing those insights and ROIs and process automation, then they start building the trust on the model that they're building. So this is mainly expectation gap as of now, because it's a new thing. And as I said, give another 12 to 24 months, and then people will understand how the new ecosystem is working, because now it is getting into production, and then the expectations will be aligned with all the stakeholders, and you'll see more of AI driven projects coming in with the clean data and then clean processes.
Right, that's a very interesting perspective, Rahul. And you have actually highlighted, that it's so important for leaders to move beyond just the hype and focus on practical understanding as well. And too often, I think we see organizations treating AI as plug and play solution rather than a capability that needs strategy, data maturity, and the right cultural mindset to thrive. And I think it's the real opportunity, I believe, is you are or companies are, reframing AI not as replacement for human intelligence, but more like an enabler for amplifying decision making and driving or innovation as well. Well, thank you so much, Rahul, for taking all the time and effort to be on a podcast today and helping us understand that there's a huge opportunity outside, but it requires disciplined execution and commitment to building sustainable AI capabilities rather than just pursuing short-term technological wins. And I think the organizations that will thrive in the agentic enterprise era are those that can understand the processes before automating them. They are investing in proper data architecture and considering them as a strategic capability. And those are also, of course, thinking in terms of business outcomes rather than just technology features. Thank you so much, Rahul. It was lovely chatting with you.
Yeah, thanks, Priya. Thanks for inviting me.
Great. Thank you so much. This is for our listeners. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Don't forget to share it within your network and help us know what is the next topic or next theme you would like to host a podcast on. Until then, stay tuned. You can view all our previous podcasts on Spotify and other leading platforms. Thank you so much.